All right. You guys may have seen this, but Donald Trump has been trying to separate himself from Project 2025. He tweeted out, "I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them." And people immediately debunked this. They were saying, this is top Trump aide Russ Vought, one of the authors of Project 2025. He is also in charge of the Republican Party's platform committee. Yes, the same person writing Project 2025 is writing the GOP or Trump's GOP platform, and we're about to read this platform. But yeah, Trump lied for multiple reasons. Also, keep in mind that Donald Trump enacted 64% of the Heritage Foundation's policy prescriptions during his first term, so he is absolutely lying. He's running defense, and the GOP decided that it might be a good idea to try to moderate, try to distance themselves from Project 2025 by releasing this new 2024 GOP platform, Make America Great Again. And this platform is absolutely and totally ridiculous for a few reasons. Dedication to the forgotten men and women of America. A return to common sense. We can read that in 1 second, but what I want to highlight here is that all of their chapter names are written like manic Trump tweets. In all caps, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Thank you, Glitch Bidge, for the dono. Please start about Trump is Putin as global billionaire mafia society. This is a global issue. That's true, yeah. Notice how all of these titles are written as manic Trump tweets, essentially. In all caps, seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Just some insane stuff. I mean, we can go through and debunk some of these titles. First of all, America was built on immigration. Stopping the migrant invasion is an insane way to talk about immigrants coming over here for a better life. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. We've broken down the problem with that a few times. Republicans want to deport 11 million immigrants, but there are a few problems. Number one, how do you deport 11 million people in a nonviolent way? Number two, how do you not accidentally deport American citizens in the process? And number three, this would tank our economy. It would absolutely tank our economy. Deporting 11 million people, it's not even possible. Number 7 is wild. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms. You guys are championing the guy who wanted to terminate the rules, laws, and regulations in the Constitution. Trump put that on Truth Social. You guys are championing the guy who tried to overthrow the results of an election. Yeah, someone in the chat said, defend our Constitution from who? From Donald Trump? The only person who's actually called to overthrow our Constitution and the only president who's ever tried to overthrow our Constitution in the history of America. Even number 6 is crazy. Large tax cuts for workers. By workers, do you mean the top 1% of the top 1% like you did in your first term? No, someone said they took Project 2025 and put it in a bullet point list. They took Project 2025 and they moderated it a bunch to try to separate themselves from it. I mean, this is still extreme, but they're going to try to say this is their actual platform. And then once Trump gets into office, from day one, like he says, on day one, they're going to enact Project 2025. And we know for a fact. Yeah, it might even be 20 million immigrants they want to deport. I've heard them say 11. I've heard them say 14. I've heard them say 20. Let's see. Whoops. Number 3, number 3, sorry. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East. The idea that Trump would prevent World War III, he's one of the most impulsive people in the world. And the fact that number 17 is even on this list is crazy to me. Keep men out of women's sports is in their list of top 20 things that needs to be done in America. Out of the top 20 things that need to be done, keep men out of women's sports. That's wild. Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. How do you define a pro-Hamas radical? Are you just going to deport all pro-Palestinian protesters? That is absolutely wild. Like, I hate Hamas as much as the next person, but I definitely wouldn't say deport. Deport anyone for expressing their opinion. That's their First Amendment right. And then again, all caps titles, defeat inflation, quickly bring down all prices. We have the lowest inflation in the world. Inflation sucks for everybody, but if it was this easy, defeat inflation, I think we would have done it. Also, everybody make sure you go join the Mockler subreddit. We've got a clean subreddit going on here. We've been having some good conversations about Project 2025. The Mockler subreddit can be seen in the chat right now. You can see the link in the chat. Seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Build the greatest economy in history. All right, all the stuff that we've already read. So let's go through some of these. We don't even have to go through every single one, but I think it's worth going through the GOP's 2024 platform and just debunking some of these talking points. The Republican Party will reverse the worst inflation crisis in 4 years that has crushed the middle class, devastated family budgets, and pushed the dream of homeownership out of reach for millions. Okay, first of all, a lot of this inflation was a direct result of Donald Trump's wild deficit spending, and I know that we needed to spend for COVID, but the idea that you can say that this is all Joe Biden's fault. Number two, inflation has cooled down. We have historically low inflation numbers. Actually, we have the lowest inflation in the world, and I'm not saying that to undermine people's lived experiences. I know inflation sucks, but prices aren't going back down. That is called deflation. All you can ask for is that real wage growth outpaces the growth of inflation, and that's happening right now for the first time in a while. People are making a historic amount of money. When foreigners think of America, they think of one of the richest countries with the richest people. Again, inflation sucks, but this idea that they're going to come in and also, their plan is absolutely BS to increase tariffs, which is just increasing taxes that will far outweigh any tax cut. Okay, let's keep going. Inflation is crushing American families. Is it? Inflation sucks, but I don't know if it's crushing American families. Unleash American energy. Under President Trump, the U.S. became the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world. And we will soon be again. But isn't Joe Biden also producing? Are we producing record amounts of oil right now? A simple Google. We're breaking the record. The EIA confirms historic U.S. oil production record. In mid-December, let's see. Oh my, holy ads, hold up. We've been hitting new records for years. United States produces more crude oil than any country ever. Any country ever. And this was March 11th, 2024. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but these are just... So this is what the entire GOP platform is. I'm just going to guess right now. It's going to be these incredibly, incredibly vague prescriptions with no actual path on how to get here. So they're going to say, oh, we need to end inflation. We need to stabilize the economy, but there's not going to be a step-by-step guide, which is what you need. So under President Trump, the U.S. became the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world. Let me just point out that was because we were continuing the trend from the Obama administration, and we've still been continuing that trend. They say, and we will be soon again. We already are. We're already hitting historic numbers by lifting restrictions on American energy production and terminating the socialist Green New Deal. I might be wrong, but the Green New Deal was never enacted. No part of the Green New Deal was ever enacted. By terminating the socialist Green New Deal. So again, these are just vague platitudes. What restrictions are you going to lift? Number one. Number two, you're going to terminate something that doesn't exist. Republicans will unleash energy production from all sources, including nuclear, to immediately slash inflation and power American homes, cars, and factories with reliable, abundant, and affordable energy. It sounds great. Oh yeah, of course we want to have abundant, affordable energy, but how are you going to get there? They don't say how we're going to get there. Thank you for the dono space, Karen. I've worked for the past 3 weeks for a corporate-owned company, and they refuse to pay me even 2 weeks. They are doing this because they know the Department of Labor has just been defunded. Yep. I feel that. That's terrible. That's a terrible situation. But, yeah, there was never a Green New Deal. And we are producing, so like, again, it's going to be so vague. Rein in wasteful federal spending. Republicans will immediately stabilize the economy by slashing wasteful government spending and promoting economic growth. This has to be a joke. Donald Trump increased the deficit by 2 times the amount that Joe Biden increased it by. Donald Trump increased the deficit by $8 trillion. Joe Biden's was roughly $4 trillion, literally double the amount. So when they say slashing wasteful government spending, they're going to slash programs like Social Security, all of these social welfare programs that help people at the bottom, while at the same time cutting taxes for people at the top, just increasing the wealth gap. That is all Republicans want to do. And rather than actually lay out a step-by-step guide, they just have vague platitudes. Like I said, terminate the socialist Green New Deal. It's just BS. Cut costly and burdensome regulations. Republicans will reinstate President Trump's deregulation policies, which saved Americans $11,000 per household, and end Democrats' regulatory onslaught that disproportionately harms low and middle-income households. I don't even think that's true. Trump versus Biden. Who got more done on regulation? What's up, everyone? Say hi to that YouTube now that you're on screen. Trump versus Biden. Who got more done on regulation? Trump launched a massive deregulation campaign that largely failed. Biden has effectively used rulemaking to advance his priorities. When it comes to federal regulations, Democratic and Republican presidents are judged by different standards. The former are expected to use federal regulations vigorously to advance liberal goals such as protecting the environment and the rights of workers. The latter are supposed to take an axe to federal regulations. Neither task is especially easy. All in all, the Trump administration's inexperience and sloppiness in rulemaking led an overwhelming number of its actions to be overturned in court. Biden, meanwhile, has had far more success promoting his agenda through regulations. But Biden's accomplishments will be in jeopardy if he loses this fall, thanks to one lasting victory that Trump did achieve, appointing 3 justices to the Supreme Court. Since then, in a series of precedent-breaking decisions, the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority has begun an assault on the foundations of the administrative state. Regardless of who wins the election, we can expect to see the next president pursue a similar agenda with a similar level of competence. A year into his presidency, Trump proclaimed with typical bombast that he had launched, quote, the most far-reaching regulatory reform in American history. That's always what he says. He said in the Roosevelt Room of the White House, just before using an oversized pair of scissors to cut through red tape. Trump's attempts to cut red tape were significantly hindered by his administration's unfamiliarity with the ponderous bureaucratic processes that govern regulations. Federal rulemaking is a lengthy process that involves public comment, congressional administrative review, and ultimately oversight from courts. To get rid of a regulation is similarly onerous. Unless it happens within the 60-day time window. So basically they're saying that Trump's entire administration was so damn incompetent, they couldn't even pass anything when it came to regulation, where Joe Biden, his experience in the government, allowed him to far outpass Donald Trump's. Oh, is Biden speaking at the NATO summit? Sorry, I was waiting for him to hop on. Let's check out this NATO summit. Biden won't speak for a while, so I don't think we should watch all like the lead up speakers, but I'll keep an eye on this. I'll keep an eye on to see whether or not Joe Biden's speaking. But let's keep going. Stop illegal immigration. We'll cut that. We'll break that down. Is Biden speaking right now? Yeah, the presentation has just begun. We won't watch those lead-up speakers, but we will watch Biden when he hops on stage in a bit. Let's keep reading. Stop illegal immigration. We'll break that down in a bit. Restore peace through strength. War breeds inflation while geopolitical stability brings price stability. Republicans will end the global chaos and restore peace through strength. I say this all the time, but by peace through strength, they mean we're not doing Project 2025. This is the GOP's new platform that is basically like they're trying to moderate themselves and distance themselves from Project 2025, so this is their new platform. But what Republicans always try to do is say that they believe in peace through strength because that's what Ronald Reagan believed in. But President Biden has been incredibly strong. He's been showing people like Xi Jinping, people like Vladimir Putin, that we use hard power to protect sovereign nations. Meanwhile, Donald Trump wants to cede Ukrainian land to Russia, and he calls that peace through strength. Just because you achieve peace by ceding land doesn't mean you're strong. That's actually a show of weakness. Republicans offer an aggressive plan to stop the open border policies, wrong, the border is not open whatsoever, that have opened the floodgates to a tidal wave of illegal aliens, deadly drugs, and migrant crime. Why do they capitalize some of this stuff like it's like a big event? We will end the invasion at the southern border. There's no invasion. Restore law and order. You're nominating a convicted felon. Protect American sovereignty and deliver a safe and prosperous future for all Americans. Secure the border. Republicans will restore every border policy of the Trump administration. Were there any border policies that Biden immediately repealed? I don't think so, number one. Number two, we had a border bill. Let's break down what this border bill had, because it was so perfect. Or it wasn't perfect, but it was such a step in the right direction. The number of unauthorized immigrants crossing the border keeps reaching record highs. The backlog of cases in U.S. immigration has soared past 3 million. People trying to immigrate legally to the U.S. face a maze of bureaucracy. A group of bipartisan senators, what's up, Bethany, and White House officials say they've negotiated a deal that would solve some of these problems. If passed, the measure would amount to some of the most significant changes in U.S. immigration policy in decades. That's certainly a big if. While President Joe Biden has said he'll pass the legislation, former President Donald Trump is pushing GOP lawmakers not to pass it. And House Republican leaders have called it dead on arrival, even if it clears the Senate. Still, this is a moment when it's important to pay attention. What's proposed? Once illegal border crossings reach a certain threshold, the Department of Homeland Security would be required to exercise a new emergency authority that bars migrants, except unaccompanied minors, from crossing the border between ports of entry. The authority would automatically kick in if crossings rise above 5,000 on average per day on a given week, or 8,500 in a single day. So a lot of Republicans were making the claim that there was a threshold of 5,000 minimum people that could pass. Or Republicans give the argument that essentially there was a threshold of 5,000 minimum immigrants that could pass, and that's what the bill promoted. It promoted 5,000 people passing a day, but the thing is, it promotes a threshold where after 5,000, the authority automatically kicks in to stop the crossings after 5K. Gary Caprara in chat said, can you clarify saying there's no invasion? Saying there's an invasion at our border is a really unnecessarily loaded language. When you use loaded language like that, you're not only dehumanizing the people crossing, you're acting like they're inherently bad people. They're invading our country. No, they're coming over here for a better life. What's up, guitar player? Major changes to asylum. Asylum officers from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services will decide on the asylum cases of migrants at the border. The legal standard of proof for passing an initial screening will be higher, and those applying will also have to prove they could not have moved to another part of their country to avoid persecution. Those who pass initial asylum screenings will immediately be eligible for work permits. Those who don't pass the screenings can appeal to an asylum review board. So there was a border bill that was pretty decent, but yeah, Donald Trump shot it down. Yeah, make housing affordable. Again, that helps with the homeless problem. That helps with immigration. Housing actually just helps with everything, actually. Building more housing helps with everything. Chapter 3, build the greatest economy in history. Cut regulations. We already went over this. Donald Trump tried to cut regulations time and time again, and he failed because his cabinet, they don't know their way around courts. They don't know their left hand from their right hand. They do not know how to pass effective legislation. See, here's the thing. If Joe Biden got into office, whether he wanted to pass or whether he wanted to cut regulations or enforce more regulations, yeah, definitely check for sure. Whether he wanted to do either of those, he would have been able to do it effectively because Joe Biden knows how to maneuver through the government. He knows how to be an effective leader. He knows how to bring people over from the other side. So either way, no matter which side Joe Biden fell on, no matter what he wanted to do, he would have been fine. He would have gotten it done. Donald Trump is such a terrible negotiator. He could not have done either. He couldn't do either. We saw that he couldn't do either. Fair and reciprocal trade deals. Make Trump tax cuts permanent and no tax on tips. Whenever I think of Trump tax cuts, I think of tax cuts for the largest corporations. Is that what he's talking about? Republicans will make permanent the provisions of the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that doubled the standard deduction, expanded the child tax credit, and spurred economic growth for all Americans. Biden has tried to expand the child tax credit multiple times, and they have not let him. There's no shot they're doing any of this. Again, this is to moderate from Project 2025. They're putting this out there so that Trump can play defense, or he can be like, no, I have nothing to do with Project 2025, when we know for a fact he is buddy-buddy with the president of the Heritage Foundation, all of the leaders of the Heritage Foundation. Housing affordability. Accessible higher education. All of this is BS. People on Twitter were railing on it. I had a few tweets saved. So Heath Mayo said, from the GOP platform, Republicans support tariffs on foreign-made goods. As tariffs go up, taxes on American workers, families, and businesses can come down. This is a lie. As tariffs go up, prices go up, sales taxes go up, and your income taxes won't come down either. They have no clue how economics works. And they prove that every single day. Every single time they talk about massively increasing tariffs while at the same time decreasing taxes, they show that they have no clue how the economy works. Olivia Juliana, friend of the stream, took out the abortion section and said, absolute BS. Let's actually pull up the abortion section. Let's see. These people are just so, every time they say they're defending law and order or they're upholding the Constitution, I can't help but roll my eyes. Oh, Biden is speaking. Let's hit it. Wait, no audio? My bad, my bad. I thought there was audio on this. One second. Oops. I got you guys. Give me 1 second.
Union.
There we go.
Members of Congress, distinguished guests, welcome, welcome to the 2024 NATO Summit. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to host you in this milestone year, to look back with pride at all we've achieved and look ahead to our shared future with strength and with resolve. Together, we rebuilt Europe from the ruins of war, held high the torch of liberty during long decades of the Cold War. When former adversaries became fellow democracies, we welcomed them into the alliance. When war broke out in the Balkans, we intervened to restore peace and stop ethnic cleansing. And when the United States was attacked on September 11th, our NATO allies, all of you, stood with us, invoking Article 5 for the first time in NATO history, treating an attack on us as an attack on all of us. A breathtaking display of friendship that the American people will never, ever, ever forget. Through all this history, when great changes occurred, people would ask, can NATO adapt? And every time we proved we could adapt, and we did, evolving our strategies to stay ahead of threats, reaching out to new partners to increase our effectiveness. And here with us today are countries from the Indo-Pacific region. They're here because they have a stake in our success, and we have a stake in theirs. Today, NATO is more powerful than ever, 32 nations strong. For years, Finland and Sweden were among our closest partners. Now they have chosen to officially join NATO, and because of the power and meaning of Article 5 guarantee, that's the reason. It was the most important aspect of the alliance in 1949, and it is still the most important aspect. I'd also note, Finland and Sweden joined the alliance not just because their leaders sought it, because their citizens called for it in overwhelming numbers. Remember, NATO's character is fundamentally democratic, always has been and always must continue to be. And today, NATO is better resourced than it ever has been. I want to pause on this because it's significant. In the year 2020, the year I was elected president, only 9 NATO allies are spending 2% of their defense GDP on defense.
Let's go.
This year, 23.
This is a good speech.
2%.
He needs to do this every single day. He needs to do this every single day. He needs to be giving speeches like this all the time, going to Fox News town halls.
That have not yet reached that milestone will get there soon. This remarkable progress, proof that our commitment is broad and deep.
Broad and deep. Broad and deep.
We're able to deter aggression and defend every inch of NATO territory across every domain: land, air, sea, cyber, and...
Dude, if he was just like this during the debate, it would have been so perfect. But he's doing a good job explaining the importance of NATO. Keep in mind, Vladimir Putin is like the best advocate for NATO. Finland, Sweden have joined NATO in the past year or two. NATO is now the strongest coalition it's been in decades because of Putin.
Terrorist groups continue to plot evil schemes to cause mayhem and chaos and suffering. In Europe, Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine continues, and Putin wants nothing less than Ukraine's total subjugation, to end Ukraine's democracy, to destroy Ukraine's culture, and to wipe Ukraine off the map.
Someone in chat said he's reading a teleprompter. Like, do you expect him to do this from memory? Do you expect him to memorize all? Like, Trump reads from a teleprompter all the time. I get that you're saying he's doing well because he's reading from a teleprompter, but he's doing well because he's projecting his voice, I'd say.
And we know Putin won't stop at Ukraine. But make no mistake, Ukraine can and will stop Putin.
True. Putin said he'd be at Kyiv in 3 days. That was 2.5 years ago.
Especially with our full collective support.
Someone in chat said, this guy is insane. If you're a MAGA supporter and you're calling Joe Biden insane, come on.
They have our full support.
Joe Biden doesn't shoot out all caps tweets at 4 a.m. about FISA warrants and terminating the Constitution.
Even before Russian bombs were falling in Ukraine, the alliance acted. I ordered the U.S. reinforcements at NATO's eastern flank. More troops, more aircraft, more capabilities. And now the United States has more than 100,000 troops on the continent of Europe. NATO moved swiftly as well, not only reinforcing the 4 existing battle groups in the east, but also adding 4 more in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia, essentially doubling NATO's strength on the eastern flank. Together, we've built a global coalition to stand with Ukraine.
This person in chat said, so the person that called out for being MAGA supporter said, no, I'm a Palestine supporter. Nice try, though. That doesn't make it any better. Like the idea that you think that shitting on Joe Biden and getting Donald Trump back into office will help your cause for Palestinians is not true whatsoever.
Together,
Trump would make the situation in Palestine way worse.
We provided significant economic and humanitarian assistance. And together, we've supplied Ukraine with weapons it needs to defend itself. Tanks, armored fighting vehicles, air defense systems, long-range missiles, and millions of munitions. The United States and nearly 24 allied partners have signed a bilateral security agreements with Ukraine, and more countries will follow. Today, I'm announcing the historic donation of air defense equipment for Ukraine. The United States, Germany, the Netherlands, Romania, and Italy will provide Ukraine with the equipment for 5 additional strategic air defense systems. And in the coming months, the United States and our partners intend to provide Ukraine with dozens of additional tactical air defense systems. The United States will make sure that when we export critical air defense interceptors, Ukraine goes to the front of the line. They will get this assistance before anyone else gets it. All told, Ukraine will receive hundreds of additional interceptors over the next year, helping protect Ukrainian cities against Russian missiles and Ukrainian troops facing air attacks on their front lines. Make no mistake, Russia is failing in this war. More than 2 years into Putin's war of choice, his losses are staggering. More than 350,000 Russian troops dead or wounded. Nearly 1 million Russians, many of them young people, have left Russia because they no longer see a future in Russia.
Let's go, Biden.
And Kyiv, remember, fellas and ladies, was supposed to fall in 5 days, remember?
Yeah, I thought it was 2 or 3 days.
Still standing 2.5 years later, and will continue to stand.
Yes. Let's go. You know they all love Biden. Trump would be making everyone laugh right now. In the worst way possible. Remember when the NATO summit laughed at him?
All of the allies knew that before this war, Putin thought NATO would break. Today, NATO is stronger than it's ever been in its history. When this senseless war began,
my talking points. You stole my talking points.
Ukraine was a free country. Today, it is still a free country. And the war will end with Ukraine remaining a free and independent country. Russia will not prevail. Ukraine will prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a pivotal moment for Europe, for the transatlantic community, and I might add for the world. Let's remember, the fact that NATO remains the bulwark of global security did not happen by accident. It wasn't inevitable. Again and again at critical moments, we chose unity over disunion, progress over retreat, freedom over tyranny, hope over fear. Again and again we stood behind our shared vision of a peaceful and prosperous transatlantic community.
Okay. Where's this Biden been for the past week? Honestly, he's been doing decent during his interviews, but after the debate, he didn't really do... He did a few events over the next few days, but it's nice to see him back out there. I think this Joe Biden should have showed up to a Fox News town hall like a week ago, right after, and proved to the nation, because naturally, the next event after the debate would be incredibly, incredibly highly viewed. It was George Stephanopoulos, I believe. So many people watched that interview. It like broke records, like 8 million people were watching it or something. So, yeah.
Here at this summit, we gather to proclaim NATO is ready and able to secure that vision today and well into the future.
Yeah, he's had a bunch of good rallies, but I want him to do, yeah, his radio interviews have been eh. And I also want to hear him do more unscripted events, which I don't even know if it's possible. The people in the crowd are so happy that it's not Trump up there right now.
Let me say this. An overwhelming bipartisan majority of Americans understand that NATO makes us all safer. The fact that both Democratic and Republican parties are represented here today is a testament to that fact. The American people know that all the progress we've made in the past 75 years has happened behind the shield of NATO.
Yep.
And the American people understand what would happen if there was no NATO.
Keep in mind, World War II was the bloodiest conflict in human history, the bloodiest conflict. So all of the world leaders came together to try to find a way to prevent that from ever happening again, and they created NATO.
Another war in Europe, American troops fighting and dying, dictators spreading chaos, economic collapse, catastrophe.
Michael in chat said our country is not doing great. By what indicator is our country not doing great, though? Like, what indicator are you
Americans, they know we're stronger with our friends. And we understand this is a sacred obligation. As President Reagan put it, and I quote, "If our fellow democracies are not secure, we cannot be secure. If you are threatened, we are threatened. If you're not at peace, we cannot be at peace."
Yep, lie count, zero. Zero lies so far.
We know it now. Our nations will continue to keep faith with what we pledged in years to come. Now, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to end my remarks in a slightly unusual way. NATO is an alliance of nations, but also made up of leaders. And one person in particular has done an extraordinary job leading NATO for the last decade. Secretary General Stoltenberg, would you come forward?
I thought he was about to call out Trump for a second.
So much of the progress we've made in the alliance is thanks to the Secretary. He's a man of integrity and intellectual rigor, a calm temperament in a moment of crisis, a consummate diplomat who works with leaders across the political spectrum and always finds a way to keep us moving forward. Secretary, you've guided this alliance through one of the most consequential periods in its history. I realize, I was talking to your wife, I personally asked you to extend your service. Forgive me. And you put your own plans on hold. When the Russian war in Ukraine began,
thank you, AC.
You didn't hesitate. Today, NATO is stronger, smarter, and more energized.
Yeah, he's not thinking about Trump.
And 1 billion people across Europe.
But he stopped for a second. He's like, I want you to indulge me. There's one man. And I was like, oh, shit. Who's he going to call out?
Indeed, the whole world will reap the rewards of your labor for years to come in the form of security, opportunity, and greater freedom. For these reasons, I'm pleased to award you the highest civilian honor the United States can bestow, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Let's go.
Military, come forward. I'm asking to read the citation.
That's sweet. He gave Stoltenberg the Presidential Medal.
The President of the United States of America.
Yeah, our country would be in a way different position right now if we had this Biden during the debate. I agree. I don't want to keep bringing it back to the debate, but like, he is slipping in the polling. We would be in a way different position.
Awards this Presidential Medal of Freedom to Jens Stoltenberg, a visionary statesman and ceaseless defender of democracy. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has guided the NATO alliance through the most consequential decade for European security since World War II. When Vladimir Putin launched his brutal assault.
You know MAGA's going to clip this up like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's just been awkward his whole life. He always is kind of awkward in the way he stands around. He's awkward when he speaks and gives speeches. He's a cool guy, but now that he's a little bit older, yeah, he can be kind of awkward, and they're definitely going to clip that up and be like,
to come will benefit from the safer world he helped create. He demonstrates that the core truth of the alliance is as powerful now as it was 75 years ago. Together, we are stronger.
Let's go. This is great. This is great to witness. Every time I see one of those moments, I think of this meme. I'm just so meme brained. Have you guys seen this? Obama's best moment. But no, that was a really good speech. I love NATO. I love NATO a lot. I'm a big NATO sympathizer. Okay. That's probably enough of that. Let's do a little bit more research, then I have one more cool thing I want to do with you guys today. So, going back to the research of the GOP's 2024 platform. If you guys are just getting here, they're trying to distance themselves from the extremism that is Project 2025. And they released this platform, which is just a bunch of crazy stuff. If you go read the table of content area, it's a bunch of all caps tweets, basically. Where did that go? All caps Trump tweets put into chapters. They basically just took Trump tweets and turned them into chapters in this plan. Seal the border. Stop the migrant invasion. You can almost hear Trump yelling this stuff. Yeah, that's a good point in chat. They're going to slow-mo different videos of Biden during that and say that he like struggled to do this, struggled to do that. They can slow-mo a lot of those. They're cheap fakes. That doesn't mean Biden isn't old, but they try to exaggerate the problem. And again, knowledge and skills, not CRT and gender indoctrination. Republicans will ensure children are taught fundamentals like reading, history, science, and math. All of these things are already taught. What are you talking about? Also, you need to teach people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert about reading, history, science, and math. Not left-wing propaganda. Where do you think children are being taught left-wing propaganda? It just blows my mind. We will defund schools, yeah, we know that engage in inappropriate political indoctrination of our children using federal taxpayer dollars. Come on. It's like when Donald Trump always says, I will not give a single penny to any school with a vaccine mandate. It's like, any vaccine mandate? Why is he using this weird doublespeak where it's like, are you talking about COVID vaccines? Are you talking about all vaccines? If nobody has to get any vaccines, you are setting our country up for a terrible, terrible crisis. And also, you're not going to withhold federal funding for schools that have vaccine mandates. That's been the precedent for a while now. They do the same stuff in Canada, I'm pretty sure. Freedom to pray. Republicans will champion the First Amendment right to pray and read the Bible in school and stand up to those who violate religious freedoms of American students. See, why is this so vague? When you say Republicans will champion the First Amendment right to pray, everybody has the right to pray or read the Bible in school. There were incredibly religious people Yeah, also someone in chat said grade averages go down proportionately as you decrease funding. That is very true. The more you decrease funding, the worse our children do in school, the less competitive and innovative we are on the world stage. But nobody is taking away their freedom to pray. That is wild to me. Empower American families by not teaching sex ed, by not allowing access to contraception, and not allowing abortions. So all of these things combine to having a bunch of single parent households. Thank you, Brian Shalito, for the puppy cookie jar. I appreciate that. He's the best. Overcome the crisis in liberal arts education. See, here's the thing. A lot of this stuff is like vaguely, it sounds good. Like, of course we want to make colleges and universities affordable. They also put the word sane. They're already, I don't know how you'd say colleges are insane. What's up, Michael Irish? And here's the big one. Republicans will protect and defend a vote of the people from within the states on the issue of life. We proudly stand for families and life. We believe that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States guarantees that no person can be denied life or liberty without due process, and that the states are, therefore, free to pass laws and protecting those rights. After 51 years, because of us, the power has been given to the Senate. Yeah, we oppose late-term abortion, doesn't happen, while supporting mothers in policies that advance prenatal care, access to birth control, and IVF. So here's the thing, and Olivia Giuliana points this out. She says, absolute bullshit to say that the GOP is moderating on abortion. Their platform would create a path for fetal parenthood. And fetal parenthood is basically, or fetal personhood, my bad. Fetal personhood is basically a legal concept that says that fetuses are legally considered people. Someone in chat said, Michael said, I respect Adam Mockler, even though I at times disagree. That's good. It's good that we can have a broad tent where we all sit there, we disagree, and despite disagreeing, we can push our pro-democracy message. Even if we have major policy disagreements, that's fine. We can sit down and discuss them. But Olivia Giuliana brings up a great point. Republicans are pushing for the idea that fetuses should be legally considered people. And they're also saying that they're leaving it to the states, which she says, leaving it to the states is bad when the states are letting women bleed out on their bathroom floors or pose organs, which we've seen from Texas alone. And yeah, and even leaving it up to the states leaves each state open to taking the most extreme measure possible. Think about Arizona. They immediately reverted back to a law from 1864 or something like that. Let me look it up. It's been a few months. 1864, so yeah, 1864, that's what it was. So there's just a bunch of vague political doublespeak. Republicans will ensure election integrity. We will implement measures to secure our elections, including voter ID, highly sophisticated paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and same-day voting. We will not allow the Democrats to give voting rights to illegal aliens. That's not happening right now. Voter ID, it can be fine, but the ways that Republicans have done it historically is racist. We went over this on stream. Someone in chat said voter ID is good. Voter ID in North Carolina ruling. Let me explain to you guys really quickly why voter ID was considered bad. North Carolina judge strikes down a voter ID law they say discriminates against black voters. Essentially, what the court said was that they were targeting black voters with almost surgical precision. The ruling reflects, quote, how the state's Republican-controlled legislature undeniably implemented this legislation to maintain its power by targeting voters of color, said Allison Riggs, the plaintiff's lead attorney. In July 2016, a federal appeals court struck down several portions of a 2013 North Carolina elections law that included a voter ID mandate, saying GOP lawmakers had written them with, quote, almost surgical precision to discourage voting by black voters who tend to support Democrats. GOP legislative leaders and their attorneys disagreed, saying the latest ID rules were approved with substantial Democratic support. Not true. The categories of qualifying ID were greatly expanded compared to the 2013 law to include college student and government employee IDs. Essentially, what this law did was it restricted the amount of voter ID that you could use, and it, like with surgical precision, targeted black communities to try to stop them from voting. So when they say they want voter ID laws, if they're voter ID laws like this, then it hurts black Americans. It disenfranchises not only black Americans, but if you're disabled, if you're just low income in general, you're not able to get the proper ID, then yeah, this disenfranchises you. Our commitment: strengthen alliances, strengthen economic, military, and diplomatic capabilities. Yeah, Republicans, all they want to do is disenfranchise voters. And they use this vague rhetoric. We've gotten to the end of the document, so I think that is a good time to move on to the next segment. I wanted to talk to you guys about this subreddit that I found called QAnon Casualties. This subreddit is absolutely wild. It's about people whose family members are really far-right extremists who got sucked into QAnon. Okay. Let's read this one. QAnon Casualties. My marriage is over. I'm leaving. If you had told me a year ago I'd be packing to leave my marriage of 40 years after spending days arguing with my husband that neither JFK or JFK Jr. were about to come back from the dead, I wouldn't have believed you. I probably would have laughed. But maybe not. This has been coming, I think. It started when Trump was elected. My husband began saying racist things. See, people immediately began feeling emboldened by Trump. Just little things that he'd slide into the conversation, but given we'd never been a racist family, it was noticed immediately. I think my kids tried to play it off as old age. It probably bought us more time with them. The more alt-right and Q he listened to, the worse it became. I tried so hard to bring him back, to make him the man I married. We were flower children, for goodness sake. Consciousness objectors during Vietnam, deadheads, hippies, and then yuppies. This hateful man couldn't be my husband. Jesse Langland said, would you agree that if money was flooded more into the people, that poverty could be non-existent, health, crime, mental health would be tremendously better? Yeah, there are certain social safety nets that we can implement to make people's lives better, and if these social safety nets basically include more housing, more mental health, then it's all a net positive. Someone said, who won the meme contest on subreddit? Let me pull that up really quickly. I already sent out the shirt to the person who won the meme contest. We DM'd and I sent it out. This person won right here. Excellent meal. Me waiting for a single Republican to explain why Trump needs immunity if he's not criminal. As you can see, Holly got the highest upvoted Reddit post. I already DM'd her. We took care of the merch. She chose a certain shirt. And yeah, go join the subreddit. We'll be doing more and more giveaways like this. The subreddit currently has about 500 to 600 deep state agents. That's what we're called, deep state agents. But go join the subreddit. Go join the subreddit. It's linked right here in chat. Let me link it again. Go join the subreddit. It's really fun. It's a great time. But let's keep reading this. My children pulled away first. When he wouldn't get the vaccine, he wasn't allowed to see the grandbabies. That's normal. A lot of families had that problem. When I got it, he threatened me with divorce. Still, I stayed, even when my kids stopped talking to us and my own and his own siblings pulled away. I thought at the time that would wake him up, but he's just doubled down. And this is what happens. A lot of, I don't want to say older folks, but in this case, it seems like an older folk got pulled into this rabbit hole of QAnon. You start looking at certain Twitter feeds or Facebook. Usually it happens on Facebook. You see a certain Facebook feed. You get pulled into this algorithm and you slowly believe more and more conspiracy theories. And it's sort of like a wall that gets weakened over time. It gets chipped away. So at first, you remain skeptical when you hear something about JFK or JFK Jr. You remain skeptical, but then you hear more and more conspiracy theories. Maybe Hillary Clinton did kill this person. Maybe this did happen. Maybe Trump is being targeted. And then the wall slowly gets chipped away from until eventually you're believing these wild conspiracy theories. Thank you, Edward Cooley. I appreciate that. Which conspiracy theories specifically? I mean, all of them, but the most extreme ones, like the ones that we're reading about here, about JFK Jr., that's what I was talking about here. We're deep state agents. That's what we are in the subreddit. But today we had this huge fight, the worst of our marriage, all over JFK/JFK Jr.'s return from the dead. It's just becoming too much. I can't stay with him anymore. My church and pastor are strongly against divorce, and I know I'm going to be ostracized for this, but I can't stay anymore. I'm sorry, I know this is rambling. I'm just sad and alone. No one in our family talks to us anymore. I know when I tell them I'm leaving him, they'll be happy and relieved, but this is a 40-year marriage. I'm just devastated and lost. I don't know. I'm too old to start over. I thought we'd die together. I found this Reddit through a news story. I suppose I just needed to tell those who understand. Wow. Someone said, getting the rest of your family back will be worth losing him. I'm very sorry. You will go through the stages of mourning, but you'll be much happier. It's wild to me that, Pizzagate, Alex Jones, it's just wild to me that QAnon actually pulled families apart. Someone said, I'm so sorry you're going through this. My heart is breaking for you. This is the right place for you to come. So many of us are casualties just like you. This is just, all these people have QAnon people in their lives, people that were pulled away. This person said, I'm so sorry. It was only a 10-year marriage, but it was the same with my soon-to-be ex-husband, so I can relate. I can tell you it's hard as hell and will likely be harder for you than what I went through because of a longer marriage plus church, but your kids and grandkids will be thrilled for you and to get you back. That is very true. This is absolutely awful. How I lost my husband of 9 years. Is this the same person we were just reading about in the comments? Okay, how I lost my husband of 9 years. I just need to get this off my chest. Anyway, I was happily married for 5 years. We were together for 13 years if you include the time we dated. In 2016, he started watching Alex Jones and following all the various conspiracy theories. Over a 4-year period, it escalated from a casual, did you hear that? Did you hear this? To, you've been brainwashed by this or that. That's exactly what I was saying. It slowly escalates over a multi-year period. It's like a wall that gets chipped away. And you slowly get desensitized to conspiracy theories. But that wasn't even the most painful part, this person says. When the BLM protests were happening, he said that people needed to verbally express their concerns and not be violent. I explained that people have expressed their concerns for years, but it seemed as if no one was listening. So he asked me if I've ever experienced anything. For context, I am a black/African American woman and he is Caucasian. So I told him about the numerous times I have been discriminated against. One story in particular happened while I was in college in 2006. I was told that I was not allowed into a particular bar because they, quote, didn't want my kind there. I told my husband that barring entry based on race is racist. He said, quote, I hear what you're saying, but where's your proof that this was racist? He then went on to say how he doesn't believe racism exists and that it's all just personal preference. That is wild. Imagine being a black woman married to a man for 9 years and finding out he's a racist, conspiracy theorist, Trump supporter, or even worse, watching him go from an incredibly sweet man to somebody who is a racist conspiracy theorist. I feel so betrayed and heartbroken. Someone in chat said she should have called the cops on the bar, but it's like, if you're a black woman who's already been discriminated against, do you really want to call the cops at that point? Yeah, conspiracy theories take advantage of your base of emotions, and it's a lot of fear mongering. It's a lot of provocative stuff that it allows you to slowly connect these dots. Like, have you guys ever seen this? Always Sunny and everyone's seen this meme, right? This is the average conspiracy theorist trying to put together all of these different strings of Alex Jones said this, Hillary Clinton said this, oh my God, there was a basement in a pizza shop, it means this. This is like half of MAGA. This is like half of sitting MAGA Congress right now. Half of our Congress members who believe the election was stolen. This is like Ted Cruz, this is Lindsey Graham, this is half of our country right now, and it's wild to me. How I lost my husband of 9 years. We read that one, and that's wild. Someone said, I'm really sorry your spouse didn't believe that you underwent racial discrimination. This one is crazy. QX violently attacked me minutes after the inauguration. This was 4 years ago after Biden was inaugurated. Today, my ex-girlfriend and I were in separate rooms watching the inauguration when she attacked me completely unprompted. I ended it a few weeks ago after putting up with the Q nonsense for months, and I was planning to move out at the end of the month. She has never been abusive in the least before now. Less than 5 minutes after the inauguration, she pounded on the door, didn't wait for a response, and rushed in screaming incoherently. violently. She threw herself at me, scratching at my face so it bled. I'm a foot taller than her, big strong guy, but I was so taken aback that someone who has never been for a moment violent or abusive could suddenly be trying to do me harm. I tried to hold her hands back, but she started kicking, so I pushed her away and ran out the bathroom door. She could have been drunk, number one. Number two, I feel like even if these stories aren't particularly true or these people are stretching, I feel like everybody has a QAnon family. Not everybody has. Everybody has an experience with a right-wing family member. Or I feel like these stories have been replicated across the country with QAnon family members, right? It's not totally impossible for this to happen. Someone said, my Q husband went crazy today as well. Like, how many right-wing Republican QAnon people do you think were actually going crazy after Biden's inauguration? This one's funny. Brother-in-law still believes Trump will pardon him. My brother-in-law has been Q crazy since day one. My sister always laughs it off but doesn't believe it. Someone said Q is fringe, but is it? Is Q really fringe? I'm pretty sure there was a moment where like 30% of people in the Republican Party believed certain QAnon conspiracy theories. That is millions and millions of people. That means millions and millions of people in the US believe these QAnon conspiracy theories. My brother has been Q crazy since day one. My sister always laughs it off, doesn't believe it. Cut to January 6th. Brother-in-law storms the Capitol, posts about it all over the internet, and surprise, surprise, was arrested. Sister believes. Mike Lindell just announced Trump should put him in charge of Homeland Security. Thank you for the dono, Crystal. That is the worst idea I've heard in my life. That is the worst idea I've heard in my life. Mike Lindell literally couldn't run a hot dog stand. Sister believes he's innocent, and the police opened the doors for him to come in and told him he wouldn't get in trouble because he went in because it was, quote, the people's house. They always say that. That's what the brother-in-law told my sister. Anyways, brother-in-law posted bail. I spoke to him and my sister on FaceTime last week. I asked if he was nervous about his trial, to which he replied, no, because President Trump is going to pardon me. These people are crazy. I told him that's impossible since firstly, he isn't the president anymore, and secondly, he didn't even pardon anyone from the riots in his last days as president. But of course, my brother-in-law is on the March 4th train and fully believes Trump is going to pardon him and everyone else from that day as his first executive order. So they thought that people were going to, yeah. Mike Lindell is a type of dude. Mike Lindell and Rudy Giuliani are the type of dudes to steal your wallet at a house party and then help you look for it for an hour. Oh man, we'll help you find your wallet, even though they're the ones that stole it. You guys have seen this one, right? Man thinks he's going to be arrested, so he prays to Donald Trump. Come on.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please. I'm asking you.
Please save me.
Please save me.
Thank
please
you,
get
Dunnies.
these people away from me. In dear God's name, please stop these people.
There's cops outside about to like break down his window. Look, there's a cop right there. I think they break his window right after this. This guy is absolutely nuts. He prays to Donald Trump. Please, please, Tom Cruise, come save me. My favorite celebrity. My brother-in-law thinks that, what did it say? Is on the March 4th train and fully believes Trump will be back in office. That is wild. Yeah, he's praying to Donald Trump after a police chase. He thinks that Donald Trump is going to descend from the skies in Air Force One and like part the sea like Moses, be like, move away, police officers. And then he just takes that guy who's in the middle of a mental breakdown onto Trump Force One. That's what this guy thought was going to happen. It's pretty sad that Donald Trump has conned all these people. Someone in the comments of this said, he will pardon your brother after he shows us his tax returns, shows us who he owes $400 million to, and his healthcare plan. So any minute now. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick stream tonight. I'm going to end it here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone who was here for the stream. If you're still here, the best thing you can do to support me is to go check out the Adam Mockler subreddit. We're trying to create some actual good political discussion in the subreddit. Someone made a really good post about a book. We'll read about that on stream tomorrow. Read the book, The Boy Who Dared. This one got a good amount of upvotes, and people were just chatting about this book and how it relates to Project 2025. A lot of amazing posts. A lot of amazing posts in this subreddit. Go join if you use subreddit a lot. Also, everybody have a great day, and I'll see you soon.